chapter 34. Joshua was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 30 and 1 years in Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, and walked in the ways of David his father, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. For in the 8th year of his reign, while he was yet young, he began to seek after the God of David his father. And in the 12th year he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem from the high places, and the Asherim, and the graven images, and the molten images. And they broke down the altars of the Baalim in his presence, and the sun images that were on high above them he hewed down, and the Asherim, and the graven images, and the molten images he broke in pieces, and made dust of them, and strewed it upon the graves of them that had sacrificed unto them. And he burnt the bones of the priests upon the altars, and purged Judah and Jerusalem. And so did he in the cities of Manasseh, and Ephraim, and Simeon, even unto Naphtali, with their axes round about. And he broke down the altars, and beat the Asherim and the graven images into powder, and hewed down all the sun images throughout all the land of Israel, and returned to Jerusalem. Now in the 8th year of his reign, when he had purged the land, the house, he sent Shaphan the son of Azaliah, Maaseiah the governor of the city, and Joach the son of Joachaz the recorder, to repair the house of the Lord his God. And they came to Hilkiah the high priest, and delivered the money that was brought into the house of God, which the Levites, the keepers of the doors, had gathered of the hand of Manasseh and Ephraim, and of all the remnant of Israel, and of all Judah and Benjamin. And they returned to Jerusalem. And they delivered it into the hand of the workmen that had the oversight of the house of the Lord. And the workmen that wrought in the house of the Lord gave it to mend and repair the house. Even to the carpenters and to the builders gave they it, to buy hewn stone and timber for couplings, and to make beams for the houses which the kings of Judah had destroyed. And the men did the work faithfully. And the overseers of them that were Yakat and Obadiah, the Levites, and of the sons of Merari, and Zechariah, and Meshullam, of the sons of the Kohathi, to preside over it, and over the Levites, all that had skill with the instruments music. Also they were over the bearers of the burdens, and presided over all that did the work in every manner of service. And of the Levites there were scribes, and officers, and porters. And when they brought out the money that was brought into the house of the Lord, Hilkiah the priest found the book of the law of the Lord given by Moses. And Hilkiah answered and said to Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. And Hilkiah delivered the book to Shaphan. And Shaphan carried the book to the king, and moreover brought back word unto the king, saying, All that was committed to your servants, they do it, and they have poured out the money that was found in the house of the Lord, and have delivered it into the hand of the overseers, and into the hand of the workmen. And Shaphan the scribe told the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest hath delivered me a book. And Shaphan read therein before the king. And it came to pass, when the king had heard the words of the law, that he rent his clothes. And the king commanded Hilkiah, and Ahikam the son of Shaphan, and Abdon the son of Micah, and Shaphan the scribe, and Asaiah the king's servant, saying, Go you inquire of the Lord for me, and for them that are left in Israel and in Judah, concerning the words of the book that is found, for great is the wrath of the Lord that is poured out upon us, because our fathers have not kept the word of the Lord, to do according unto all that is written in this book. So Hilkiah and they whom the king had commanded went to Huldah the prophetess, the wife of Shallum, the son of Tokat, the son of Kashra, keeper of the wardrobe. Now she dwelt in Jerusalem in the 2nd quarter, and they spoke to her to that effect. And she said unto them, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, Tell you the man that sent you unto me, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will bring evil upon this place, and upon the inhabitants thereof, even all the curses that are written in this book, even all the curses that are written in the book, which they have read before the king of Judah, because they have forsaken me, and have offered unto other gods, that they might provoke me with all the works of their hands. Therefore is my wrath poured out upon this place, and it shall not be quenched. But unto the king of Judah, who sent you to inquire of the Lord, thus shalt you say to him, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, as touching the words which you have heard, because your heart was tender, and you didst humble yourself before God, when you heardest his words, against this place and against the inhabitants thereof, and have humbled yourself before me, and have rent your clothes, and wept before me, I also have heard you, saith the Lord. Behold, I will gather you to your fathers, and you shall be gathered to your grave in peace. Neither shall your eyes see all the evil that I will bring upon this place, and upon the inhabitants thereof. And they brought back word unto the king. Then the king sent and gathered together all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem. And the king went up to the house of the Lord, and all the men of Judah, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and the priests, and the Levites, and all the people, both great and small, and he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant that was found in the house of the Lord. And the king stood in his place, and made a covenant before the Lord, to walk after the Lord, to keep his commandments, and his testimonies, and his statutes, with all his heart, and with all his soul, to perform the words of the covenant that were written in this book. And he caused all that were found in Jerusalem and Benjamin to stand to it. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem did according to the covenant of God, the God of their fathers. And Joshua took away all the abominations out of the countries that pertained to the children of Israel, and made all that were found in Israel to serve, even to serve the Lord their God. All his days they departed not from following the Lord, the God of their fathers. All right, let's go back up to verse 1. We'll be yesterday. Manasseh had just became the king. Manasseh was 12 years old. He reigned for quite a while, 55 years in Jerusalem. Manasseh did that which was evil in the beginning of his reign, and when God had delivered him into the hand of the king of Assyria and brought him to Babylon, we'll find out he turned in his sin, and he found out who God was, even this God who can punish. And he turns, and God restores him to his kingdom. And we'll find out Manasseh kept the law of God from then on, but these high places, they were still found in the land, and his son Ammon would take his place, and he would rule, and he would serve these high places that his father had made. But Ammon wouldn't last long, because Ammon was evil. Ammon means this master workman, and he would reign 2 years, and we could witness this. Ammon, he and his servants would slay him, and then the people would slay his servants. And then they would set Joshua. He would be the king. And Joshua is this one that finds God, or this found of God. He will be the king, and that's where we pick it up in verse 1. Joshua was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And Joshua was 8 years old. And Joshua is that which God found. This is found of God, and we'll find out it was something that belonged to God, which they found. And he was 8 years old when he began to reign, and 8 is that new beginning. 8 is that which, it's like a new beginning. It's going to start all over, really. This new beginning, even of the greater understandings. And that's going to be the law. See, because we'll find out that God is quick to bless, and God is quick to judge, and he begins to reign, and he reigns for 31 years. 30 is 3/10, and that's going to be to complete the law. It's a dedicated thing. Even the beginning in 1 is a beginning. In these greater understandings that were in Jerusalem, and these greater understandings that were in Jerusalem in the beginning was the law, see. And Jerusalem is that place of peaceful teachings. And the law is those teachings of peace, that covenant which God made in the beginning with humanity, of covenant of peace, too. And he did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, and walked in the ways of David his father, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. And he did that which was right, or correct, He did correctly before the Lord. He walked in the ways of David his father, and he obeyed the law. He was obedient. God made him obedient to the law. God preserved him. God knew who his heart was. And he goes after the ways of David his father. He turns when he makes a mistake, and he doesn't turn aside from the right hand or the strengths in his work, or from the left. We'll be able to witness this. 3. For in the 8th year of his reign, while he was yet young, he began to seek after the God of David his father, and in the 12th year he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem from the high places, and the Asherim, the graven images, and the molten images. In the 8th year of his reign, this would be the 8th year, it would be a new beginning even in the greater understandings here in his reign. While he was yet young, he would only be 16, and because he was 8 years old when he began to reign. And 16th year, he would begin to seek the God of David, his father, and we'll find out in the 12th year, he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem from the high places. And this would be 4 years later, and that's going to be the work of God in these greater understandings. His 12th year of his reign, when he would begin to purge Judah. That's that place of praising. 12 is understanding. See, and because that's 10 and 2, and that's the law being witnessed, and that is understanding and greater understandings of this purging of Judah and Jerusalem. That's a place of peaceful teachings of these high places, and we'll find out high places. Those high places, Ammon, that master craftsman, he worshipped that those 2 years, and these Asherim. These Asherim are these multitudes of these evergreens they planted there to show their alternative places of worship. And these graven images, these carved out, these things men have hewed out, these, what it is, it's a grave. That's because that's the only thing you're going to hew out for yourself with those. And these molten images, these things that are poured out of the fire, and that's a whole nother story there. These molten images, these things which they believe comes out of this fire, and there's a whole different kind of worshippers of these images, these imaginations of men. 4. And they broke down the altars of the Baalim in his presence, and the sun images that were on high above them he hewed down. And the Asherim and the graven images and the molten images he broke in pieces and made dust of them, and strewed it upon the graves of them that had sacrificed unto them. And he broke down all these altars, these places where they slay, these alternative places of worship, these Baalim, these Lord images they used to make over themselves, and these sun images, these images of enlightenment, these just represent the understandings of men. The understandings of men and their ignorance, these things they used to make to rule over. But God caused it. God caused that because they'd went astray from the understanding God had given them in the beginning. 5. And he burnt the bones of the priests upon their altars, and purged Judah and Jerusalem. And he burns the bones of these priests upon these altars, and these bones represents the essence, that which was within of these that stood before these altars which they had made to these Notagons. He purges Judah and Jerusalem from these high places and these other understandings that men were creating. 6. And so did he in the cities of Manasseh and Ephraim and Simeon, even unto Naphtali, and with their axes round about. And so he did to all the cities, all these places that had regard of Manasseh, and that's those that cause to forget, and Ephraim, those double-fruited, that's those that are fruitful, and Simeon, this is those that have heard, even unto Naphtali, and Naphtali is those twistings, those wrestlings, those strugglings even, with their axes, and these axes are mattixes, I believe is what the King James Version says here, but what they are tools that are made to cut, whether it be stone or wood, 7. And he broke down the altars, and beat the Asherim and the graven images into the powder, and hewed down all the sun images throughout all the land of Israel, and returned to Jerusalem. And he breaks down these altars, these alternative places of worship that men had made through their understandings, with these images they created, and these Asherim they would plant there to make them known. See, they would grow to a height. They'd plant them in every pleasant place, on every high hill, every fruitful place. They would plant these, and this way the people would know where to go to worship these not gods that these men had made, and these graven images, these things they'd carved out, he turned into powder. And he hewed down all their sun images throughout all the land of Israel, and returned to Jerusalem. And this is what was left of Israel at that time. These would be the remnants of Israel, and these would have joined themselves to Judah. And he returns to Jerusalem. That's that place of peaceful teachings. Now in the 18th year of his reign, when he had purged the land and the house, he sent Shaphan, the son of Atzaliah, and Maaseiah, the governor of the city, and Joah, the son of Joachaz, the recorder, to repair the house of the Lord his God. And in the 18th year, this would be 6 years later when he began to purge it. It would take him 6 years. See, because 6, that's always going to be the work of man. It would be the 18th year of his reign. And 18, because that's 10 and 8, see. And that's going to be the law. It has a new beginning, even a portion of the law, this in the new beginning of the greater understandings of his reign. Because he's purged the land now of these not gods. And when he had purged the land and the house of God, he sent Shaphan. And Shaphan is this burrower, or this one that digs. He's this one that digs in. He's the son of Atzaliah, and Atzaliah is these that are set apart of God. And Maaseiah, the governor of the city, he was the governor, or this one that's set over, in charge of. And Maaseiah is this work of God. He is this one that God is using. And Joah, the son of Joachaz, the recorder, to repair the house of God. And he's going to send them to work, get to oversee, we'll find, the work of the house of God. And Joach is God's brother, and we've explained that is this one who shares the same understanding of God. He is the son of the one who come forth from Joachaz, this one whom God has seized. 9. And they came to Hilkiah the high priest, and delivered the money that was brought into the house of God, which the Levites, the keepers of the door, had gathered of the hand of Manasseh and Ephraim and all the remnant of Israel, and of all Judah and Benjamin, and they returned to Jerusalem. And they came to Hilkiah. We're going to find Hilkiah is this high priest. He is the priest who is in charge, and the priest is this one who stands before God. He's Hilkiah. He's the portion of God. He is this portion of God. And he delivers this money that was brought into the house of God, and we'll find out this money, it was silver and gold. That's what they used to use back then, and it was given by weight. He brings it to the house of God, which the Levites, and these are those that join, they are the keepers of the door. That's the place where they go in and out, and he gathers of the hand of Manasseh. This is out of all the works of Manasseh. That's those that cause to forget, and Ephraim, the fruitful, of all the remnant of Israel. And these were those that was left of Israel, whom was left after the great carrying away there because of their sin. And this remnant of Israel, that's those who remain, of those that contended with the mighty one, of those that contend with the mighty one, of all Judah and Benjamin. And these are those of praisings, and that's that son of the right hand, the son of my strength, the son of my work. They returned to Jerusalem. That's that place of peaceful teachings. 10. And they delivered it into the hand of the workmen that had the oversight of the house of the Lord, and the workmen that wrought in the house of the Lord gave it to men to repair the house. They're going to take all this money, this silver and gold that they've gathered from these that are left, this remnant that's left, we'll find out, of Israel, and all of Judah as well, whom God is watching over. God's using them as an example. See, he left that there for a lamp, and they give it to repair the house, all this money, all this gold, to repair the house. 11. Even to the carpenters and to the builders gave they it, to buy hewn stone and timber for couplings, and to make beams for the houses which the kings of Judah had destroyed. They give the money to the carpenters. Those are those that build, these builders. They give the money to, and to buy these hewn stone and these timbers, and for couplings. These couplings, those things that would join these timbers together or hold these timbers and these hewn stones, which were needed because, we'll find out, see, the kings of Judah had destroyed these things. They, one way or the other, because they had disobeyed the law of God, and they found no value in these things of God, which had a lot stored up on them, and now all this wrath and all this judgment's been released upon them, and they are going to have to repair these things, restore these things. 12. And the men did the work faithfully, and the overseers of them were Yadkat and Obadiah, the Levites, of the sons of Merari, and Zechariah and Meshullam, of the sons of Decoati, to preside over it, and over the Levites, all that had skill with the instruments of music. And these men that did the work did it faithfully because they knew what they was doing. And these overseers of them were Yakath. Yakath is these that are brought together. And Obadiah is a servant of God, these that do the work of God. These would be the Levites, those that join. And of the sons of Merari, these that come forth from bitterness, those of bitterness. And Zechariah and Meshullam. Zechariah are those that are remembered of God. Remember, Zechariah, remembered. Those that are remembered of God or have been called to remembrance of God. And Meshullam is this friend of peace. And we'll find this friend of peace. These would be the sons, or those that come forth from the Coati, and those that the Coati are those assembled, these that are assembled, and they preside over it, and other of the Levites, and these are those that are joined together, these that are joined, all that had skill with the instruments of music. And we remember these instruments of music. These instruments are called remembrance, this understanding of God. Also, they were over the bearers of burdens, and presided over all that did the work in every manner of service of the Levites that were scribes, officers, and porters. And he set them in their positions. This would be according to their position they would be set in, and they presided over all the work that was being done in the house of God, and over the officers and the porters and the scribes. And these scribes are those that recount, those that write it down. They keep track of it. They reckon it. They're going to redo it and make sure it's understood. And officers and porters, these are those that officiate over the carrying these things that are done. And these porters, those once again are the keepers. These are the ones that keep gates, 14, or the doors, 14. And when they brought out the money that was brought into the house of the Lord, Hilkiah the priest found the book of the law of the Lord given by Moses. And when they brought out the money that was brought into the house of the Lord, we'll find out, Hilkiah the priest found the book of the law of the Lord given by Moses. And this book is that which is found by God. We'll find out again. Once again, they have found this book, the book of the law that was given by Moses. Moses is Moshe. He is this one who was drawn forth, drawn out. We'll find out. He was the servant of God. 15. And Hilkiah answered and said to Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. And Hilkiah delivered the book to Shaphan. And Hilkiah, this portion of God, answered and said, because he found the book, to Shaphan. Shaphan was that burrower. He's the scribe. I found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. And this book is, once again, that law of God that he gave in the beginning. It's the knowledge of God. It's the understanding. It's his wisdom that he gives you for your own good. We'll find out they have found it, and he delivers it to Shaphan. 16. And Shaphan carried the book to the king, and moreover brought back word unto the king, saying, all that was committed to your servants, they do it. He took the king as the book, and we'll find out as well. He was taking him back word. He would take probably the king back word often to keep him informed on the progress. 17. And they had poured out the money that was found in the house of the Lord, and delivered it into the hand of the overseers and into the hand of the workmen. He's saying everything's going fine. All the money's been delivered to those that do the work in the house of God. 18. And Shaphan the scribe told the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest had delivered me a book. And Shaphan read therein before the king. And Shaphan, he tells the king, he's the scribe, Hilkiah, that was portion of God, this portion of God, has found the book. And Shaphan reads this book. We're going to find out to Yoshia. He's the king. 19. And it came to pass, when the king had heard the words of the law, that he rent his clothes. And when the king hears this law, and he hears this understanding that had been before, see, this was the law before, and we'll find out God was doing just what he said he was going to do in that book. The king rends his clothes, and this rending of clothes is too humble. This is a show of humility to rend the clothes, this garment that you're in, this covering that you have. And 20. And the king commanded Hilkiah and Ahikam the son of Shaphan, and Abdon the son of Micah, Shaphan the scribe, and Asaiah the king's servant, saying, and the king now is going to hand a commandment out to Hilkiah, and Hilkiah is the high priest. Remember, he's the one that stands before God. He's that portion of God. And Ahikam is this brother of that which is raised up. He's the understanding even. He shares the understanding of those that have raised up. He's the son of this one that come forth from Shaphan. And Shaphan, this one that burrows, and this one that digs in, we'll find out, even into the earth. And Abdon is the son of Micah. Abdon is this worker, or the worked, this one who has been worked. He is this son, or this one that comes forth from this, that is like God. And Shaphan the scribe, he is the burrower, the scribe that had it, recorded it, or keeps track of it, or the reckoning of it, or the repeating of it. And Asaiah, he's the king's servant. And Asaiah is this that was made by God. It was made by God. God did it. It was the work of God. He is the king's servant. He is the one that serves the king, saying, 21, go you inquire of the Lord for me, and for them that are left in Israel and in Judah, concerning the words of the book that is found. For great is the wrath of the Lord that is poured out upon us, because our fathers have not kept the word of the Lord, to do according unto all that is written in this book. So Yoshia sends them, these men that I've mentioned, off to inquire of God, to go inquire of God. And the priest, he's the high priest, Hilkiah, should have inquired of God himself, but we'll find out that's not what these men are going to do. They have not kept the law of God, and they've went astray. Their fathers have went astray. They didn't keep the law of God, and we'll find out there's no one has enough understanding to do it. 22. So Hilkiah and they whom the king had commanded went to Huldah the prophetess, the wife of Shallum the son of Tokat, the son of Kashra, keeper of the wardrobe. Now she dwelt in Jerusalem, the second quarter, and they spoke to her to that effect. So Hilkiah, he's the high priest. He's the one that should be going straight to God. He's the portion of God. They whom the king had commanded, we'll find out, these other men, went to Huldah, called, if you look it up, it's going to say it's a weasel or something like that. But what called is this across the ages, across time, across or through time, through. And it's just like it glides through time, nice and softly and easily. We'll find it's that great strength of God that moves quietly. The prophetess, this speaker in the feminine sense, this wife of Shalom, and that's the understanding. The wife is to be the understanding of Shalom, and that's that just reward. See, that just reward, that rightful recompense, that which you're going to get for what you done. He was the son of Tukat. Tukat is this that was hoped for, even that was hoped for, the son of Kachra, and this that come forth from this that was found wanting, or this that was found without, not having, the keeper of the wardrobe, and that's that which keeps or hands out or sees over the wardrobe, and those are those coverings. Those are those coverings. Now she dwelt in Jerusalem. That's that place of peaceful teachings in the second quarter. And the second, because the quarter, see, there's 4 parts. The quarter always tells us there's 4 parts. It's been divided in 4. That's the work of God. She dwells in the second quarter, and that's where we can witness that work of God. And they spoke to her to that effect, even the fact that she spoke with a different dialect. 23, and she said unto them, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, tell you the man that sent you unto me. And these would be what the words of Kola would be. 24, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will bring evil upon this place, and upon the inhabitants thereof, even all the curses that are written in the book, which they have read before the king of Judah. And that's what the book says, even all the blessings and all the cursings that were written in the book, see. That's what God said he would do a long time ago, and we'll find out across time. That's what God did. That's what God's doing. 25. Because they have forsaken me, and have offered unto other gods, and they might provoke me with all the works of their hands. Therefore is my wrath poured out upon this place, and it shall not be quenched. Because they have forsaken me, God said. You have forsaken me and have offered unto other gods, these other not gods, going into ways they did to worship these other not gods and all the things they did, that they might provoke me with all the works of their hands, these things that they do. See, this is their doings, their works. Therefore is my wrath poured out upon this place. And God's wrath was poured out, we'll find out. He poured out his wrath just like he said. And that's when they go and they worship and they serve these things that men make, these understandings that men have. That's those that don't teach the law. See, God give you the law. That's all you can got. 26. But unto the king of Judah, who sent you to inquire of the Lord, thus shalt you say to him, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, as touching the words which you have heard. But to this king of Judah, this one who is over those oppressions, who sent you to inquire of the Lord, and that was Yoshia, this one that's found of God, or this one who God has found. As touching the words, concerning these words that you've heard, these words that was written in the book even long ago, 27, because your heart was tender, and you didst humble yourself before God when you heardest his words against this place and against the inhabitants thereof, and have humbled yourself before me, and have rent your clothes and wept before me, I also have heard you, saith the Lord. And it was because he humbled himself, and his heart was tender, his understandings. When he was 8 years old, he didn't have much, but he sought the Lord. He humbled himself before God. And when he heard the words of the book, even the words that was against the place for what they've done, God said, this is what I'm going to do when you turn from me. This will be the punishment, and that's exactly what God did. And we'll find out Yoshua humbled himself. He rent his clothes. He humbled himself. That's to show that humility. To rent your clothes, to rent your garments, these things that cover you, your coverings. And he wept before God. God heard him. God, as God promised he would. 28, behold, I will gather you to your fathers, and you shall be gathered to your grave in peace. Neither shall your eyes see all the evil that I will bring upon this place and upon the inhabitants thereof. And they brought back word unto the king. God said, in his days, God's going to give Yoshua peace, and we'll find out that's what God does. He's going to gather him to his days, in his days, to his fathers. That means when he dies, and he'll be gathered to his grave in peace. There'll be peace in his days. And he won't get to see the evil that God's going to do because of what they've done. 29, then the king sent and gathered together all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem. And the king, he's going to take counsel now with all the elders of Jerusalem and Judah. 30, and the king went up to the house of the Lord, and all the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and the priests and the Levites and all the people, both great and small. And he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant that was found in the house of the Lord. And they read the book, this book of the law. That's where we started these. And we'll get more into the book of the law, because the book of the law would be the whole first 5 books. That was the grace God gave in the beginning. These things that he wrote down for your own good. He had them recorded then, see, so that there would be understanding. Even later on, God does control all the reigns. 31, and the king stood in his place and made a covenant before the Lord, to walk after the Lord and keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all his heart and with all his soul, to perform the words of the covenant that were written in this book. And the king stands in his place, see, there before all the people, and he makes a covenant. He doesn't make a covenant. He reestablishes the covenant which God had made. Even in the beginning, see, there's no new covenants. There's the same covenant God made in the beginning. He said, keep my law, do my commandments, walk in my statutes, and follow me. And that was what he said, and that is what he still says. Turn. See, Yoshua is going to make a covenant. He's going to walk before the Lord, keep God's commandments, keep his statutes, all his heart. That's with all his understanding, with all his soul, with all his ability, all his willpower, to perform the words of the book, even of the covenant. That's those words that was written down from long ago. We still got them. They're still here. 32, and he caused all that were found in Jerusalem and Benjamin to stand to it. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem did according to the covenant of God, the God of their father. And he caused all that were found in Jerusalem and Benjamin. That's that place of peaceful teachings, this one that comes forth from my strength. God said, to stand to it, to stand to this covenant, this agreement, that covenant of peace God gave in the beginning. See, God's been making an example of the whole time. It's the law of God. It's the law of God. 33. Joshua took away all the abominations out of the countries that pertained to the children of Israel, and he made all that were found in Israel to serve, even to serve the Lord their God. All his days they departed not from following the Lord, the God of their fathers. And Joshua, this one who is found of God, or this one who found God, it was the law of God that God gave in the beginning. See, took away all these abominations out of all the countries, these countries that pertain to the children of Israel, even this remnant that was left, these abominations. That's all those alternative altars, they call them at that time, these places that are just not acceptable to God. God said, you shall not do this thing. And all the days, and that's in all his understandings, they departed not from following the Lord, the God of their fathers. They would do according to God in his commandments and his law and keep them. And we're going to continue in chapter 35. Turn and return.